My name is Richard Bell and I'm project managing an exhibition here at The Point in Doncaster. It has taken a year and a half to gain the backing and funding that the project requires, and today is our first day in the gallery. In this room we're going to relive a local marvel whose history stretches back more than 150 years, back to a time of huge growth and evolution for Doncaster. It has taken me 30 years, 2 books, countless hours of research, interviews, archive photographs and newspaper articles to document as thoroughly as I can the history of the Sandhouse. It's my hope that through this exhibition its memory will be kept alive for another 100 years or more.
In 1822, Doncaster was described as being pleasantly situated on the south bank of the River Don and one of the most clean, airy and elegant towns in the British Dominion. But when the railways arrived in the late 1840s, they marked the start of a change from a quiet market town into a bustling industrial centre. It was against this background that William Senior began his sand business on the southern outskirts of the town. With his son Henry, he soon developed the small sand pit that lay on his land into a larger quarry. During their excavations, a massive block of undisturbed sandstone was left on the quarry floor, which William and Henry began to turn into their home. Records show that it was begun by 1857. After William's death, Henry continued to expand both the sand business and sand house. Over the next 10 to 20 years, the house grew into mansion proportions. It even included a ballroom. Just as impressive as a sand house were the extensive tunnels that Henry dug into the adjacent rock. These magnificent tunnels were carefully excavated and decorated with intricate carvings. After 40 years in his unique home, Henry Senior died and, in accordance with his will, the sand house was sold. It was bought by Doncaster Corporation, who used it as a depot for the sanitary and cleansing department for over 3 decades. By the mid-1930s, the sandhouse's condition was deteriorating and, after much debate, it was decided to begin landfill operations at the site. By the end of the Second World War, there was nothing to be seen of the house. The former quarry had been filled back up to ground level. Only the tunnels survived, and, although there was no official access, local children soon found a way in. The sand holes became a popular, though sometimes slightly scary, playground.
It would be perhaps late 1945 when I first started going, without my mother knowing, of course.
The others in the troupe said, "Oh, you want to come and have a look? It's a marvellous site. It's big caves and everything."
In those days there were no keep out signs, no danger signs, no barriers around, no awareness of health and safety. So of course it was an ideal spot for children to go and play around.
If I can vaguely remember, there were three entrances, quite large entrances. I would think 6, 8 foot high.
It was like a train tunnel when you entered it, but it soon got smaller.
Of course, when we went inside, it was just absolutely unbelievable. You could not imagine the sights in there. I don't think anybody who's ever seen the Sandhouse can ever forget those sand carvings in there. What always intrigued me was mainly the elephant one, but I can remember it was an absolutely marvellous carving.
The cave mouth was still open in my childhood days, which ran straight under Victoria Street. I believe it turned right and went along the road under Greendyke Lane and into the cemetery.
That area there was where I had the biggest scare that I've ever had in my life. All I can tell you is, got up to this white table and stopped. The hairs on my neck stood up, and all I can say, it was like a white cloud came round the corner, and I just felt all clammy, and I can never ever explain that, but it was frightening.
After redevelopments in the 1960s and 70s and subsequent tunnel collapses, a contractor was employed in 1984 to search out the remaining tunnels. When access was gained, they allowed several of Henry Senior's descendants down to see the carvings.
The hole was simply 4 foot square and the ladder is sheer.
I'd never expected to experience anything like it, and it affected me far more than I anticipated it would do.
All down the tunnel there were various carvings on the roof and on the walls, and it was really quality carving.
It was just like being transported into something that very few people had experienced. It was amazing, absolutely amazing.
I would like it to be remembered for all those carvings because it's something you can't ever forget. Where else is the Eddie Sand carvings like they used to have at the Sandhouse? I don't know of any.
Just a few days later, hundreds of tons of grout were pumped into the tunnels to fill and secure them forever. Now only historical records show that the Sandhouse ever existed, and its memory is at risk of falling into legend. However, with generous support from the National Lottery through Arts Council England, the Sandhouse is being kept alive by the Elephant in the Room.
We're going to spend the next 2.5 months here at the Point Gallery. That's the next 2 weeks constructing the exhibition and then a further 2 months sharing it with the general public. The centrepiece of the exhibition is going to be a recreation of the elephant and mahout carving from the Sandhouse tunnels, to give an impression of the scale of those tunnels and just how awesome they were. That's going to be done by the much acclaimed sand sculptor Jamie Wardley over the next 2 weeks, while we make other preparations such as hanging banners, putting up storyboards and generally preparing for the opening of the exhibition in 2 weeks' time.
We're making a 2.6 metre tall sculpture. We've brought in 40 tonnes of sand and we've compacted it down into essentially soft sandstone using machines and forms. And then we're in the process of carving an elephant and a mahout out of that big block of sand. We're also running a workshop with 5 artists, and they will then make their own sculpture based on the theme of the Sandhouse.
My name's Gamara Duncan. I've never done this sort of stuff. I've done a little bit of work with clay, but this sort of carving out of sand is a totally new experience. All our pieces sort of come together as one, so it just feels really nice.
Yeah, it's certainly been a steep learning curve.
I think what we've got now exceeds my expectations. The elephant and mahout is just amazing. When you walk into the room, it's just awesome. I didn't really know what would be produced by the trainees who were doing the other 5 sculptures, and I think they've done incredibly well.
Listening to people just as they've walked in and the first scene of the elephant, it's like, wow, and you weren't even finished, so excited for Tuesday when everything kind of kicks off.
We're expecting over 100 people tonight, maybe as many as 120. I'm going to do some introductions and then hand over to the Earl of Scarborough, who will perform the official opening. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome. It's been a year and a half in the planning and 2 weeks in the execution so far. I'd like to now hand over to our guest of honour, the Earl of Scarborough, to open the exhibition. Lord Scarborough.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the story of the Sandhouse encapsulates some of the most positive traits of the Victorian era: industriousness, vision, creativity, ingenuity, and possibly a touch of eccentricity. It is highly unlikely that we shall see anything quite like it again. but this exhibition fires the imagination and goes a long way to bringing it back to life. The Sandhouse is a unique and inspirational part of Doncaster's history, and the elephant in the room serves as a wonderful reminder. And now it is my great honour to declare the Elephant in the Room exhibition open.
I think it's gone really, really well. You've had people from all over the place, all over the district. We've had a lot of media coverage as well, and just it's just nice to see people's response to it, because they really, really like it, and it's great to see that they like the little sculpture as well.
The images are just like you see in the book what the photographs are.
I think it's fantastic. I'm only sad that by the time I came along it had all gone. I never actually saw it in situ. It's good to see it here today like this.
There's people buzzing around here, everybody's learning about the history, it's what it should be.
Yeah, I'm absolutely amazed. I had a sneak preview last week.
How they managed to do that, you know, really.
To see the finished article is really amazing. And to think it all came from 40 tons of sand. Yeah, and my great-great-grandfather would have done the same.
And I quite like the spirit of these guys, Henry and William Sr., that, you know, took it upon themselves to make a quarry, which was just a quarry, so just a hole in the ground, and make it into something wonderful. And that's a real spirit that I think, you know, people really should embrace.
I think there's a lot of positivity from the locals. The fact that the Sandhouse that's only been known locally when it should have been known nationally is finally getting some sort of recognition, and it's finally getting some coverage and exposure. So.
It was like when we went down in the tunnels in 1984, because the elephant was the main impacting village. It was amazing.
I knew the tunnel entrance, I knew the sand hole as we called it as children, but to actually see these here, you know, life-size, is fantastic.
I've just in this short time learned so much. I've seen about 4 or 5 people here tonight from my community, so the word's spreading slowly.
And so you've got the history of what this means to people around here, that once upon a time there was a house made out of sand. It was something quite magical, really. And so what's happened here is that Richard's come along and he's created this event, if you like, and brought the magic back. And that's quite wonderful, isn't it?
The Doncaster people now should come and have a look at this and read the history of the town, which they're perhaps not known about.
I think one of the main aims of the exhibition is to bring to the attention of a much wider public the fact that the Sandhouse ever existed, and just what a marvellous creation it was. It is sad that such a relatively small number of people know about it currently, but hopefully the exhibition will change all that.